near Banbridge town in the county down one morning last July. Down a Bowling Green came a sweet colleen, and she smiled as she passed me by.
For many years, Bloomington has waited to hear John McCormack. Last night, this long-anticipated concert was realized when 2,000 citizens of this town in its immediate vicinity crowded into the Coliseum to listen to this Prince of Song.
And from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the brown colleen that I met in the county down.
Irish lyric tenor John McCormack was known for his diction and breath control.
I'm Bailey Henry, Collections Fellow with the McLean County Museum of History.
This is Bill Kemp, Librarian, McLean County Museum of History.
Characterized by the perfect enunciation and clearness of tone, John McCormack gave a program last night composed mainly of songs which touched the heartstrings.
My young love said to me, my mother won't mind, and me father won't slight you for your lack of kind. Then she said,
one of the more famous performers, singers of the turn of the last century, not only in the United States, but on the continent of Europe as well.
While the beauty of his voice and the unusual interpretive quality of his singing was apparent in his first numbers, the attractiveness of his personality was lacking.
the people were saying that no two were wed, but one had a sorrow that never was said.
John McCormack, after attempts to get him over the years, he finally performs at the Bloomington Coliseum at the corner of Front and Roosevelt Streets in downtown on November 24th, 1924, to what's said to be a capacity crowd of some 2,000.
It was not until after his second group of songs that the bored attitude vanished and the justly famous McCormack charm began to be felt.
It last night that my dead love came in, so softly she came that her feet made no din. She came.
He was born in 1884 in Ireland, but his parents were both Scottish, and he will represent for a lot of people not only Irish traditions, the tradition of Irish ballads, but also Irish nationalism in the early 20th century.
Viewed from every angle, McCormack gave a most satisfying performance, and the Amateur Musical Club is to be congratulated upon bringing him here.
The great dawn is breaking, the horn.
McCormack first made a name for himself on the continent of Europe in opera, and he was considered a tenor in the Italian style. But by the early 19-teens, he was increasingly turning his attention to what were known as just concert performances for a more popular audience.
The Irish ballads which were given in the third group were pleasing, but the heartfelt interpretation of Kathleen Mavourneen was perhaps the most appreciated by the audience.
Oh, hast thou forgotten how soon we must sever? Oh, hast thou forgotten this day we must part?
Unusually liberal with his encores, Mr. McCormack came back 3 times before the audience would be stilled.
He becomes, in the early 20th century, one of the first great recording stars for Victor Talking Machine Company.
She is watching by the poplars, Paulinette with the sea blue eyes.
While the numbers were not highly dramatic or classically heavy, there was no monotony in their choice. They ranged from the less emotional opening numbers through the charming songs for the children and the delightful Irish selections to the sentiment and feeling which touched the last group.
On the day he performs in Bloomington, there's an ad in one of the local newspapers to, quote, hear McCormack, if not in person, hear his Victor records. They are exact reproductions of his voice. That was an ad for the cable music store in downtown Bloomington.
Roses are shining in Picardy, in the hush of the silver dew.
He finds a very welcoming audience here. The Irish are the second largest immigrant group to settle in this stretch of central Illinois, right behind the Germans. The Irish start to come in large numbers in the 1840s to central Illinois. They're really spurred by the Great Famine of the 40s and the cruel and arbitrary behavior of British rule. They come to central Illinois first to work on railroad construction, laying the railroad beds and rails, and then working in the factories and towns that will line these railroads.
I'm a long way from home, and my thoughts ever roam to old Erin far over the sea.
His genius was in the ability really to transfigure what was often kind of the sticky sentiment, right, of these Irish ballads and create a moment of beauty. To take somewhat a vernacular lowbrow culture, right, and make it highbrow.
Where the wild roses bloom around the door, just to pillow my head in that old trundle bed, just to see my dear mother once more.
With true Irish feeling, he gave the tumble-down shack as an encore. And then, with half the audience standing, he came back for a final number with the message of what a wonderful world it would be.
Down the road that leads back to that tumble-down shack, to that tumble-down